everybody! How are we doing this? Well, it's evening for me. I was about to say this fine evening, which it is for me. Might not be for you, but well, I was going to say it probably is Wednesday, but I guess that's not really true either. I guess depending on where you are, you may be a day ahead or a day behind. So, how are you doing on this fill in the blank here, I guess? Yeah. I'm going to do a short stream today. Probably about 45 minutes. And you know what? I'm not even going to wait that long. I'm just going to get going instead of sitting here. I've posted to all the appropriate channels. And so, yeah, let's get going. Let me do my little intro bit here. You know what I don't remember is hide transition fade show. Yeah, I think there's a way to... Well, it doesn't really matter. I just have to do this. And there we go. Now you're seeing the screen. And we're going to be back at Shodan here. I was about to say Shieldred because their names are similar. And they're both villains, technically. But no, Shodan. As you can see, I've started to put some color into the pipes, or cables, or whatever we're calling these things. And, you know, these colors can be very easily shifted. So I'm not cemented to these. I can always do kind of a hue shift here if I want. I'm going to leave them for now. And actually, one of the things I'm going to do is something I've done many times before, which is sample the color. All right, the color's there. Go to the next layer that I want to go to, which those are the ones. So let's go to the twos. Now what I'm going to do is I will fade out the other cables, just because there's so many of them. I can only imagine it's going to be tough for me to keep track of where everything is. I think I did all the ones. Yeah, I did. So I'm not going to worry about the ones, so we'll just concentrate. I don't know why I did that. Right there. Okay, where did I put that? So what I usually do with this is I usually do like a brightness adjustment, just to keep the color families kind of similar. Problem is now I don't know where I put that little splotch. Where is that little splotch? Oh, there it is. Way over here. Yeah. Alright, so let's just do... You know what? I should fade out the ones. Oh, no. If I have the colors on, I'll be able to tell. There we go. So, there we are. Jeez, that doesn't even look like a different color. Looks like the same color. Oh, because I erased it. Dope. Yep. Sure was thinking there. So let's make that like a darker... Yeah, something like that. Now, again, all temporary. These are not permanent colors. I will be able to change these as much as I want. But it's really just to start getting, you know, some depth into this thing. So you can start to see where everything is and get a sense of it. A little bit of physicality. The background pipes, I'll probably do like a darker blue, maybe. I'd have to look. I know the Shodan artwork I've looked at, a lot of it had like blues. Like her face is very gray in most of them, if not all of them, or blue-gray. And then the cables tend to be all different colors. But they, well, I shouldn't say all different colors. They're mostly kind of blue-grays too. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is a sameness to the colors on the Shodan stuff when I've seen it before. So I'm going to try to... I did this when I did the card version, the physical magic card version. I popped the colors a little bit more, kind of give it a little bit more of a, you know, just a little bit more excitement to it. Now with that one, what I did have to do, or what I tried to do, and I will be able, I'm sure, to do it better in this image, is where I was having it kind of fade into darkness or fade off. I'm sure there's a way to do that in physical media. I have no idea how to do it. So my attempt at that in the card, it's not terrible, but it's definitely clear that I wasn't able to really accomplish what I was trying. So it really wouldn't fool anybody with even a vague attention to detail. You'd be able to tell that, oh, okay, he was trying to do this and he really couldn't manage it in a physical way. That's okay. Not the worst thing in the world. I still like how it came out. That card, I think, came out for how much line work and everything is in there. I really didn't know if that was even going to work as a card back, because it was a lot of little stuff to put into that. But it came out all right. So I'm not going to complain. You know what? I'm going to make these darker. They still feel a little light to me. maybe the color can shift a bit. Something like that. Yeah, there we go. Like a nice deep teal. Yeah, which is kind of a blue-green. Oh, man, really? Already it went out? Hold on. Sorry. I see that it... There we go. That should do it. I see that it went out. It'll come back. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything in the background. I'm waiting. Really? It's gonna... I was gonna say, it should just re-enter the code. There it goes. Okay. We're good. We're good. We're where we need to be. Alright, so these are ones. Interesting. Really? These are ones? Or twos, I mean. No, those aren't twos. Oh, that's the background wires. Yeah, that's this. Probably 39. Yep, so let's drop that down. And let's also drop this down. There we go. That'll make it easier. And I'll turn off the circuit line, or not circuit line work, the wire detail work. Which I don't need it right now, so better to just turn it off and... Oh, wait. Am I in the right layer? I am. Amazing. I kept the... Oh. There we go. Just in case anybody shows up and says hello, I want to be able to see the chat window. Chat window went behind the iPad window. I know there's an update out for the iPad. I'm kind of hesitant to do it because I don't know if it's going to scramble this. So I probably won't do that update for quite a while. I didn't look to see if OBS had an update of any kind. It probably doesn't. Check for updates. Are there any? Checking. You're up to date. Excellent. Well, that's a good sign. I mean, I'm assuming OBS will get updated for, what do they call it? Mac OS Sonoma? Probably. And I would assume Reflector as well will update because, you know, every time there's a new OS update, a lot of time, I mean, most apps have to update, most of them. Although this is, I don't think the consensus on this update is that it's anything major. It's a lot of small things. So maybe the apps won't really need to update. All my Audio Hijack, my Rogue Amoeba stuff, that all updated beforehand. It was set up. So who knows? We'll see. So let's see, what have I been doing lately? I've been playing Starfield, the new game from Bethesda that, has been coming forever and was, got into a huge hype cycle. And I'm not sure where I've landed on it yet. I have to admit, it has not grabbed me the way, say, a Fallout game would. It's not bad. It's actually a very pretty game. There's parts of it I like. The UI and some of the design aesthetics of the game are astounding. They're just great, just wonderful kind of vintage space era stuff where everything feels very science fiction. The look and feel is great. I have no complaints about the visuals or anything like that. I have noticed some of the amusing bugs that other people have pointed out, which is really most notably when you're talking to somebody and you just see people in the background that just walk into the frame, spin around, and walk right back out because they're on some kind of weird pathing that just isn't working quite right. That's very pathfinding, I guess, whatever the word is for it in game development. I don't care about stuff like that, but it's hard to miss. I have to admit, it is really amazing that still happens at this point, that you still have characters that look like, and if it was just one, or if it was done a little bit more organically, it wouldn't be as noticeable. If the character, say, looked down at a watch or a device and stopped and then turned around and went back the other way, it would make more sense, as if the person realized they were in the wrong spot, or whatever thing is giving them directions had updated or whatever. It would be less of a noticeable thing. You would just kind of write it off. Also, it happens a lot. So you'll be talking to a character, and in the background, 3 or 4 characters will just walk into the frame and turn around and walk right back out for no reason that you could really make out. And like I said, you could easily cover that up. I would not imagine it would take much compared to. And when I say that, of course, I'm not a game developer, so I'm not saying that the actual code or anything would be easy. But this is a game where characters are doing far more complex things than these NPCs are. Surely these are the individuals who could code in a very simple thing like a character looking down, seeing their watch, and then turning around. Because otherwise it has to be some kind of bug. You know, and maybe they'll fix it eventually. And they probably will. Bethesda generally does fix their bugs. They also... My dog just wagged her tail for no reason. You all right over there, Goof? She just wagged her tail. She's just laying there, and she just suddenly wagged her tail. So I don't know if she's chasing the squirrel in her dream or what, but it was very funny. So yeah, I imagine that will get fixed. And it doesn't destroy the game or anything. I don't get hung up on that stuff the way some people do. But at the same time, there are things where you just look at them and you're like, wow, okay. Another one is when I was just I'm currently on Venus in the game, so I'm landed on the surface of Venus, and there are multiple buildings because Venus has a very toxic atmosphere, very hot and corrosive gases, if I remember correctly. And anyway, so there's these habitats, these places where human beings are able to survive, you know, sealed, in theory, airlocked places. And so when you're outside them, you're in a spacesuit because you can't survive on the Venusian, or Venusian, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it, but you cannot survive on the surface of Mars without some kind of protection. So when you're outside of these sealed areas, you are wearing a spacesuit. When you go inside, you take the spacesuit off. Well, that same approach goes for the NPCs as well. The problem is that quite often what you'll see is a person walk up to the airlock and their spacesuit will vanish off their body before they've entered the building. So you get this very strange image of, and in fact, at first I thought maybe what I was seeing was some kind of person who was an alien or some kind of alien life form that could survive, like a humanoid, that could survive the atmosphere of Venus. I thought I was going to have a first contact type of scenario, but no. What I was actually seeing was one of the miners on the planet. The thing is that the game had simply stripped off the clothing before that individual had disappeared from my field of view outside on the surface. So what you see is a person who looks like they're trying to kill themselves, standing outside on the surface of Venus in the middle of a lot of heat and corrosion with no spacesuit on and looking like they don't care at all. So, you know, and then you can see they basically walk it through the airlock door. There's another minor bug, but again, one I don't really care about. So, stuff like that, you know, do I care? No. Is it hard to overlook that it's there? Yeah, it kind of is, because, again, I saw this person standing there, and at first I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand what I was seeing, because every other person I'd seen on the surface of the planet was wearing a spacesuit. And then when they kind of phased through the door, and then I went into that building, they were there as a normal person. I went, okay, this was a physics problem. The game sensed that the NPC was going in the door, removed the clothing so that they didn't look out of place. Problem is they had done it before the character had actually entered into the inner area of this, which is interesting because, not that I've ever done game development, but from my very limited understanding, that's a new way of, well, not new, it's a modern way of doing things. In the past, if a character walked up to a building or a door or whatever, they didn't really go inside of it, they just kind of vanished. The game would just vanish them. Usually they would just blink out of existence. This is trying to, you know, not only have the person gracefully go inside, but look like their state has changed because they went inside. And it's keeping track of all that. The problem is it's not necessarily doing it the smoothest way possible. So again, I don't say these as things that would sink the game. I would not tell somebody not to play it for that reason. If I was going to tell somebody not to play it, the reason would be, like I said, that the game has strangely not really... It's oddly failed to engage me. It's really weird. Why did it... I'm sort of just baffled by it because I like space stuff. I love science fiction. This seems like a game that would be tailor-made for me. I love the Fallout games. I like all of them. Everything that Bethesda's published with Fallout I've enjoyed. Even Fallout 76 and apparently Fallout 4, which is not well regarded by people. I kind of get why, but I like it still. So with Fallout games, I mean, there's really no... I don't need much of anything to get into those games. So I kind of expected Starfield to be a science fiction version of that, and it just hasn't quite gotten there yet. Like I said, I'm still playing it. It's not as if I wouldn't say I'm bored. I don't think that would be a fair thing to say. But I am not really feeling overly engaged by the campaign yet. Now, that may change. I'm early on, and you know, I'm doing my typical thing where I'm not necessarily playing the game the way the developers intended me to. When I got to the first planet I could get out of the ship from, I immediately went right off of the mission path and just started wandering around, and you know, died a few times from oxygen deprivation, things like that. But you know, so I'm not necessarily playing the game it's in the way it's intended to be. There's, in fact, I should go look. I can't remember if this is one of those games where they're like, oh well, at least play through mission X, you know, whatever mission this is, and then just go do whatever you want, because some games are geared that way. Some games want you to play them to a certain point before you really branch off and just start doing whatever you want. Well, I kind of just did that immediately, where I got past the tutorial or whatever you would call those initial couple of missions, and then I was immediately just running around planets, looting and pillaging everything I could see, with a very disapproving shipmate. Disapproving meaning she doesn't like that I'm stealing things, but you know, whatever. I don't, you know, I'm not killing anybody for their stuff. I'm just kind of taking free things, and that's, I always do that in I mean, I'm just judging this as a kind of classic Bethesda game. Bethesda games, I've always done that, where in the initial things, until I can build up a nice money pile, I tend to steal a lot of things, sell them off to vendors, and then rinse and repeat, because a lot of stuff in this game doesn't seem to be an exception. A lot of things cost a bit of change. So it's the fastest way to do things without doing missions where it just feels like the missions are beating you over the head with a very large stick, because you don't have any weaponry and you have no aid items, and you just keep getting killed and killed and killed. Instead, the first thing I did once I was put onto a planet where I could run wherever I wanted was I went into a camp and proceeded to kill a bunch of space pirates or slavers or whatever they were. And then I had a nice little stable of guns, which then made it a lot easier for me to do other things. So that's generally how it goes. And I don't like the fact that you get because there appears to be some kind of karma system, meaning it's keeping track of your quote-unquote good and bad activities, but it really shouldn't count on stealing from slavers and looters. I mean, these are people who are, you know, not because they have to, but because they think it's fun, they're, you know, running around and enslaving people and taking all their stuff and, you know, running scams. I don't think those people should count against my karma total, and maybe they won't. I don't know. They might not, but I would protest if they did. Let's put it like that. Turn the blacks on. Because I happen to think that if you're running around and taking advantage of people, then there should be some kind of karmic penalty for that. And I am simply the instrument of that penalty. Yeah. So, anyway. So, yeah, Starfield. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I know what I did. I turned off the ones. There we go. Starfield fun. Not, But this was the same thing when Cyberpunk 2077 came out. Everybody just went crazy, and I kept being told, oh, you have to play it, you have to play it, you have to play it. I said, no, I don't think I need to. I think I will, once they come out with a Game of the Year edition and they drop the price, which could be as soon as this, could be this Christmas if they do a price drop in a Steam sale or something like that, then I'll get CP. I'm not against the game. And was absolutely not, and still am not, in a rush to support it, because I think that what they did in terms of their deceptive marketing practices is pretty scummy. So I'm not rushing to give them any money, but I'm not going to not play it on principle or something like that. But from what I understand, they just did a major... Oh, wow, I missed a bunch of black areas here. I'll do that next. They just did a visual and gameplay upgrade on the game and fixed a lot of things that I guess people have been complaining about for a long time. So, yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm glad they're doing that. You know, unlike some other games, they just get left in the lurch. Which I can't think of the one we were talking about on the show the other... Oh, was it... like Saints Row. What a shame. I mean, a shame also that people don't get why that game is fun, because I think that game is a blast. But, you know, that part's more understandable. That's just personal taste. Some people like games like that, some people don't. And apparently a lot of people didn't, because it didn't make whatever sales figures they probably unrealistically set for the game, admittedly, because that does seem to be a thing now, is these just crazy expectations on game sales. You know, and you sit there and wonder, well, wait a minute now. You have a game like Starfield where they're talking about, oh, well, you know, you could spend, 3,000 hours in this game exploring and looking around, blah, blah, blah. Well, who wants to play? I don't know any game that somebody wants to play continuously for that long. Now, that's not to say you might not replay games so often that you basically hit that target anyway, but the game itself is generally not that long. It's just that you're replaying it a bunch of times, and that's fine. I mean, I replay Deus Ex all the time. So I'm certainly not against the idea of replaying games. You know, even though at this point Deus Ex really has no new mysteries to show me. I know every inch of the game as far as I can tell. I've not seen anything that indicated that I'm missing some kind of secret anything. So again, at this point, I have seen everything the game has to show me. And yet I still replay it because I just love the world and the music and the whole setup of it. I think it's just great. So that's a different thing. As opposed to, if you're stuck in a game and you're playing it for 200 hours or more. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read anything that indicates that length of time, that game duration, is justified by anything that goes on in the game. It's not as if there's some, series of events that are just so riveting from a storytelling perspective that you simply cannot stop playing. You must keep playing. I have not seen anything that indicated anything like that. I'm sure it's perfectly fine. I don't dislike anything, again. I just, I'm sort of surprised. I expected by now it would have got me somehow. But, in the end, that not having that might be good not to have to expect too much from something. It might be good that the jeez, I completely lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? I was saying it might be good that... Wow, I completely blanked. Was I talking about Sorry, my brain went right out the window. That is one of those moments where I'm like, oh boy, is that a sign of, future Alzheimer's when stuff like that happens? Because I don't remember what I was talking about. I mean, I know generally no, it's not that. Generally, I know I was talking about video games, but I couldn't tell you what I was actually saying. Which, can't be too great in terms of my mental capacity or lack thereof. Turn on wire details, turn that back up, and I think that was fine, yeah. But yes, my brain literally just completely shut down on that. I have no idea what I was saying. Age is fun. When you start thinking about the fact that this might be a sign of something and not just a one-off, I'm not going to tell you it's not... Well, scary might not be the right word for it, but it does make you stop and think for a minute. Like, oh, okay, is this just because I'm focusing on the drawing and so I wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying? I was kind of speaking in that stream of consciousness way that I do a lot, but I literally forgot what my point was. Could be. Saying it's a surefire sign that my mental decline is starting early, but then again, you don't know. You don't know. It's one of the reasons I like to do stuff like this. Do streams and try to do them. I don't do them nearly as many as other people do, but I try to stick to my Wednesdays fairly well because, it's just... Hopefully, if nothing else, this channel would at some point get somebody to try drawing or try some type of art that they've never tried before. That would be nice. I don't need thousands of dollars. I don't need thousands of millions of views. I don't need to get a little plaque with a YouTube symbol on it. Certainly do not need that. But it would be nice to think that somebody watches one of these videos and says, oh, it's not like he's doing some kind of deep-level Da Vinci-esque technique that couldn't possibly be replicated. I'm really not. That's not what's happening. In fact, I would guess and bet some serious money that real illustrators, people who are professionals that work in this stuff all the time, would look at what I'm doing and they would be horrified by how inefficient and not good a process it is. That's fine. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. Hold on a minute. Does it not show the chat by default? Doc, chat. Oh, boy, I'm going to feel bad if somebody typed in there. No. Okay, good. Good. I would have felt bad if somebody had been typing in there and I just completely missed it. I'm assuming it shows historical. I hope it does. Okay, so that's fine. Do this one. Yeah. Yep, so I'm sure that, again, real, illustrators who do this stuff for, a living would look at this and look at the way I'm doing things, but oh boy, you're wasting a whole bunch of time doing things that way. And they'd be right, I'm sure. I don't doubt it for a minute. I do not for a second believe that my way of doing things is in any way efficient. But I will be attending Adobe Max next week virtually, so I am looking forward to getting to see some sessions. And I thought about going down there, but COVID seems to be popping up in little places again, and I really just don't feel like messing with that. So I decided, nah, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this year again. And plus it's in LA, and I don't know, I don't like LA. I know there are people who will tell me and have told me many times that there are really nice parts of LA, and I'm judging the whole city by the fact that downtown is a pit. And that's true. I'll cop to that. It's true. I'm not going to pretend it's otherwise, but the reality is, I don't want to go to the supposedly beautiful places in LA that are 2 hours from where Adobe Max is, and then the traffic is so bad. I mean, nobody will try to contest that. Traffic in any normal hour of the day is horrific. I mean, when I went down there to meet up with Len Kabasinski when he was filming Pact of Vengeance, it literally, there was a 10-minute drive from where I was staying when I went to see him. And then when I went back, it took me 40 minutes. Now, there's just no good reason for that. No good reason, except that it's just a very, very bad place in terms of traffic. I put that in extremely generous terms. I had different words going through my head when I said that, but I want to be nice, and I understand it. I have seen images. I know people who live down there. I know it's not all like that. It's just that anytime I've had to go down there, it just has not been. I've not gotten an impression of the city that left me really ever wanting to go back. Hey, that's just me. There are people who will live their entire lives, same as any city. And I'm sure there are people who say the same thing about New York City, even though I cannot possibly imagine that. But I'm sure somebody thinks that New York City is dull or not the place that anybody in their right mind would absolutely want to be. Sorry, my voice is cracking a bit there. Not cracking, my thing is just dry. But I'm happy. I don't think I've yawned. That's good. Usually I do, so I'm happy if... I mean, I may have just jinxed it saying that. But, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'll be going to the virtual sessions for Adobe Max, which I have to say, they do still a lot of sessions for that. I wish they would do an online component that you could pay for that would give you access to everything. Just because it's a lot of expense to go down there. I mean, and they're all going to end up getting there. At some point, almost all these in-person things are going to end up being remote, I think. Or at least a lot of them will be. Not the big muckety-muck type stuff. There's always that... I don't know. I don't understand it, but there's this idea of prestige by being in a place physically. It makes it where it's, a more important thing somehow, which is just so outdated a way of thinking. But there's a lot of that going around. There's a lot of outmoded thinking happening in the world at the moment. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it gets all the way down into conferences. I did not realize that I had not done this much black filling in, because I really didn't. I did not realize I had all this black area left to do. I better make sure I'm on the right layer. Okay. I'm surprised I didn't call that layer blacks. Usually I do that when it's for black areas. But forgot, I guess. No matter. It doesn't matter at all. Hello, Goof. My dog is peeking in at me. She's peeking in to say hello. Hello. What you doing? Huh? What you doing, cutie? Come here. Let me see. Oh, well, good timing, sweet. because my screen went off again. So I can pet you while I wait for my screen to come back. Because it went off again. Wow, it's 5:41. Been doing this for 30 minutes already? Oh, they changed the number. Why? I tell you. I don't understand. It'll come back in a minute. Hi. There we go. Let's make sure it came back to here. It did. Let's keep going. Ah, boy. Oh, boy. So, yeah, WMAX. I wish they would go back to San Diego or even San Francisco or someplace else. In Las Vegas, I mean, I would go, but I would, go someplace that's sunny and nice, not LA and that type of thing. The time I went in San Diego, I gotta tell you, that was because I'm not a big travel guy. I don't go a lot of places that are far away. I've never had the itch for it. I don't have the desire. It's just never been a part of me. But that Max was, the San Diego Max was pretty special. That was a pretty good time, I got to admit. I mean, it was just, there is something to being in a place. It's one of the few exceptions where being in a place with a bunch of creative individuals, there is this energy that comes off it, and that is pretty great, I have to admit. So if they were to bring it to a different city, a nicer city than LA, then I would probably try to go again. Just because it is fun to be there and be around people who know that everybody is some kind of artist of some kind. For the most part, I mean, not literally everybody are. I'm sure there are people who treat their jobs as just, 9 to 5 type stuff for creativity, which is a real shame. I mean, that always kind of, when I think about people who treat it that way, it makes me a bit sad because I'm like, creativity and being able to create stuff, it's such a wonderful thing. But I understand for some people it's just a job. And, but that's not usually the type of people who are there. Usually the people, at least the ones I've encountered when I've gone, and I've gone maybe my whole life, I've probably gone 4 times. And those 4 times, I always felt like most of the people there were really just excited to be getting their hands on new tools, to let them do new weird things and experiment, and and that's a really beautiful thing to be around, I have to admit. It's something that jeez, that's loud. Let me see. I'm sorry. I did yep. Okay. Let me see. Jeez, I don't know why my Pixel phone updated earlier. Now, this seems to be a thing with the Pixel phones, is when they update, when they do even small updates, they seem to suddenly boost their volume about 1,000%, which makes it funny because the rest of the time I've actually found that the Pixel 7 Pro's volume is not overly impressive, and it's not that I need a very loud. I used to only buy phones that had dual speakers because and there are still some that have them, I think, but I don't really need them. That was more of it was just nice to have type of thing. But I do find I miss it a little bit. Like, if I'm playing a video or something for my wife or whatever, I do miss the old days of the HTC One. Oh boy, what a great phone with those speakers. Those speakers were amazing. I mean, that phone in general, I have very fond memories of that phone. It was a fun phone. But of course, that's from a time where phones were a much different thing. I mean, you really had to differentiate yourself if you were making a phone. You had to do something that made people pay attention. Now, I think, unfortunately, outside of the foldable space, and even in there, I know my friend Michael Fisher would disagree when I say this, but I don't even think foldables are all that interesting. Fundamentally, I mean, their form factor is, of course, they are foldables. I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but I don't know. Even foldables just don't feel like they've got any more ideas. They kind of feels like they came out like, hey, we can fold, and now what are we gonna do? And they don't seem to have taken too much advantage of that form factor differentiator. I mean, some. I'm not gonna say none of them do, but I don't know. We're 3, 4, 5 gens into some of these now, these foldables. I really expected to see something that really carved that category out as being unique. And I'm really not seeing much of that. But anyway, my point about the speakers was, I think there is a modern phone that has a set of really good stereo speakers. And honestly, that might be a factor in in whatever I go to after the Pixel. I don't know that I'll go Pixel again. I got to admit, this phone has been... I don't want to... what's the word for it? I don't want to exaggerate too much. It's certainly not a bad phone by any stretch. It's actually exceptionally good a lot of the time. But it's also oddly buggy. I mean, oddly, because this is Google's phone. This is their OS running on the hardware that they helped design, from what I understand. It shouldn't be this weird about stuff. I mean, I'm not kidding. When I open the camera, if I go into the picture preview or whatever you want to call it, you know, the album section of the Pixel camera, inevitably, I can only look at maybe, let's say 5 images tops before it just freezes. Now, it just updated to Android 14. I will see if that's still the case, but I have a hunch it is. I don't think it's an OS problem. I think it's, or at least I don't think it's a OS problem that can be solved by upgrading to 14. I think the problem is past that. And again, you know, I don't want to be like one of these people. I'm not saying the phone's terrible. I'm not sorry I upgraded to it. You know, I was due for it, even though, you know, I've talked many times. I don't know if I've done it on the stream all that much, although I probably have, about how much I love the OnePlus 7 Pro. So I went from 7 Pro to 7 Pro. It's very funny. But, you know, no phone lasts forever, and that phone started you could just start to sense it was beginning its inevitable slowdown period, which all phones have. I mean, even iPhones don't, you know, they don't stay cutting edge and perfect forever. Nothing does. And so once I kind of sensed that slowness, I thought, oh, you know, I've never had a Pixel. I've never had Google's phone. And I generally like Android. So why not see? You know, why not get the best representation of their vision for a phone? And it's very good, except when it isn't, and it's very strange when it isn't. Don't really know how else to put it. And it's definitely not just me, because I thought, oh, maybe I have a bad phone. Nope. I've seen many people with the same complaints. And it's also not a new thing even to Google. Google has historically not been able to produce a really great phone, or at least not since the early days, like the Nexus days, and they've been away from that for a long time. We are well past the Nexus days. So it's odd. But then again, you know, it's not a surprise from Google. Google as a company is just, I think it's becoming very evident there's some serious problems there. And I don't know what the fixes are. I'm not a genius or anything like that, so I can't tell you. But it doesn't take a genius to be able to recognize that that company is having some issues. And again, you know, it's, how is your phone that you made running, that is your demonstration, your signature phone, how is this thing having some of these very small problems? I'll tell you something else. The lock screen. Now, I use a password. I don't use fingerprint. I don't use face unlock. I don't use any of that stuff. I don't like any of that stuff. I'm fine with just entering an 8-character password, which I want to point out, of all the methods of unlocking a phone, is the one that's been around the longest. And therefore, you would expect, reasonably, that the method of unlocking a phone that has been around the longest should be the most reliable of the methods you have. And yet, it is not. There again, the phone will regularly just miss inputs. It misses digits that I type in. And I thought again, hey, maybe this is me. So I had my wife, who has an iPhone and uses a passcode and has never complained about this problem. I said, can you just go ahead and type this password in? And I told her what it was, and I had her do it 5 or 6 times. And sure enough, she would have to slow down. And my wife's not, you know, she's not typing really quickly or anything, but she would have to be very deliberate because the phone would just, for some reason, not be able to sense what she was doing. And again, this is on Google's flagship device. Their big phone to show off what they can do with Android. And it's just weird. Although, like I said, probably just a byproduct of the fact that Google seems to be completely lost in the mud right now as a company. Outside of the fact that they have a stranglehold on search and YouTube, that's it. That's all the company has that they can really lay claim to as anything really interesting, and not even interesting, but just that they've got some security and a demonstrated track record of success with, I guess. Outside of that, no, nothing. It's weird. I don't really care. I have to admit that the necessity of Google has continually lessened in my life. I mean, I still use Gmail and stuff like that, but it's not like if I had to ditch Google tomorrow, I'm not saying it would be easy, but I don't know that I'd have that much of an issue with it. I think I would be able to manage somehow. I would be able to. We're going to go ahead and color this in because I just like the way that... Wait, there's a thing there. What is that? Hold on. Is that a different line? Oh. Wait, what? Why is that? Bear with me a minute. What is that? Well, we'll just do this. We'll just shave that nicely. There we go. That's fine. Now I really don't care what it was. Doesn't matter now. Let's keep going here. And then we'll bring this to a close shortly so that I can feed my dog because she will... Ooh, I'm skimming close. She will start staring. I will get a look with a capital L. I will get a look if the meal is not delivered on time. Not to mention, I'd like to eat, so I will be eating shortly as well. I go fire up the pizza oven because we're having pizza. Made our dough. I took the dough out. The dough has been rising, so you know what? This is a good place to stop. Got some stuff done here. So yeah, I'm going to go, I said about 45 minutes. That's right about where I am. So I think that's a good place to go ahead and bring the stream to a close for the evening. Yeah. So yeah. Shodan is coming along slowly but surely. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming by and seeing the stream. How long have you been broadcasting for the session? 6 seconds. What? Huh? Whatever. I know that's not right. In any event, I don't know what that number means. As with a lot of stuff here, I don't really, number one, don't care, but I also don't even know what it's supposed to be telling me. Anyhow, thank you for stopping by, whether it was live or whether you're watching this a couple months from now. I really don't care. I'm just happy to have you stop by and enjoy a little creativity with me. Hopefully, I always hope that people watch these and that it drives people to think, oh, I want to draw something. That would be great. It would be so great to think that people would watch this and want to try drawing or just doodle and just be creative. I don't know. I don't. It's a very, very idealistic way of looking at things. I don't know that there's anything to that. No guarantees of that whatsoever. But that would be, I can hope that that's what people would do. So if you aren't creative yourself, I'm glad you came by and experienced a little creativity. So I'll say it like that. So even if you're not creating yourself, I'm glad you stopped by and hung out with me for a little bit while I did some doodling. And yeah, that's it. So enjoy whatever is left of whatever day this is for you, whether it is a Wednesday evening or Wednesday morning or some other day of the week, depending on what time zone you're in. And like I said, if you're watching this live, go find another channel where somebody is creating something different. Find something that's not visual art, music maybe, or I don't know. What else would there be? I don't know what else you would stream, but I'm sure there's something that I'm not thinking of because there are people who are a lot younger than me and they're far more inventive. So don't stop here. Go to another channel and go experience some more creativity, and be creative yourself in some way if you can, because it's fun. That's good for you. On that note, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next stream. Take care.